So we are in Victor's, a restaurant here in New Iberia, Louisiana, on Main Street, and we're here with Louisiana Spirits, and we're doing an investigation here. And I'm Kayla Mathern. I'm a psychic medium artist, along with a lot of other things. And we're about to do a walkthrough in which I'll psychically go and read and feel out the rooms within the restaurant and see what we can see. So, yeah. Ready? Let's do it. Okay, so here we are in the back of the restaurant at Victor's here, Main Street, New Iberia, that I stated earlier. And so what I'm feeling, I'm going to an earlier time period. Because I seen outside the sign said established in 1969, but I'm getting a much older time period now, and I want to say there was people to do with the railroad back here, and I kind of feel I see like bunk beds with railroad staff that are here, like people who work for the railway. And they're like sending cargo, so it would be this cargo that I see them loading up on trains. And I also feel very sick. So I also feel like there's some kind of disease or something like that, something kind of sickness or illness, because that's what I'm feeling. And I think it would have come through the railway. I kind of almost feel like maybe they shut it down because it just feels like stuff was back and forth on the railway through here, and somehow there was contamination, but then there was the illness that spread. And I also feel like maybe like they might have also just buried people here, just out of necessity. You know, they needed to get them, you know, just dispose of the bodies in some way in a hurry. And I feel like that would have happened, if not exactly where I'm standing towards the back of the restaurant, somewhere within this vicinity that I feel here. And it's very sick kind of feeling. And I get a lot of illness overlay that comes through with that. I'm not expecting this at all, because the front of the restaurant feels more light and happy, and I'm just surprised that that this is what I'm feeling back here. So, I feel like some of the people who did work here, and again we're coming back to a modern day part of time, this was their life. So meaning they didn't have a very good home life. There was things lacking at home. And so when they came into work here, this was pretty much their identity. You know, this gave them self-worth and importance. And also this wasn't quite orchestrated like this either, even when I feel it was a kitchen at an earlier time period. This just looks different to me. This back area looked bigger than what it is, and it's just a lot of energy, and I feel like a water source kind of adds to that. And also you have people coming in even today as a restaurant with their energy. There's a lot of hustle bustle still in this kitchen, and customers coming in to eat, and that feeds this energy. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people working in this kitchen today feel like there's someone working alongside of them. This seems to be a very active area because of that. So maybe we can move on from here. Oh, they're coming back here. Should we go somewhere else?
Finish up.
Okay, so here I am back at the restaurant in the, as it's obvious, the kitchen, where all the food is prepared. And I kind of feel like there's an aisle that goes straight down the center of this building. So of course, this kitchen wasn't always here. And I just feel like there was people like coming from the front door, going to the back door. And again, we're talking about an earlier time period here, where I feel like people were just rushing back and forth, mainly men, doing that. And also get this overlay of like religious people that were here. And I have to say, I heard everybody talking about a nun in the front. Well, y'all see, I got a drawing of a nun that I did before I came here. But yeah, there's also this religion, and maybe, you know, of course this might be me thinking, but that religious and what I felt earlier, which I was surprised to feel, which is like a sickness or illness that hit here, maybe that's it, but I'm not really sure. And but definitely religious people that were here, and primarily Catholics. And in particular, there is a gentleman all dressed in black, wearing a cross. I'm thinking that he's someone with the church. There's also there's some employees that also are here. So of course they have to do with the restaurant, but we also talking about maybe 50s, 60s, or it just got that feeling to that. Well, that's true. It said in 1969. So I want to say there, I guess around that time period, since this was a restaurant. But there's actually 5 people that are here. So some of these I feel like there are in spirit. It's simply because there's a lot of energy that comes through here as a restaurant. Also, we talk about people who might have worked here for a long period of time and might have did the same task. Therefore, it's like repetitive. So it kind of keeps them there. It's sort of like a loop. You know, where like if you did the same thing every day, and you tend to get stuck in a rut, even in a physical life. And I kind of feel it's the same way in a spirit life. So they come here and they keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I feel 5 spirits that come here, and they're pretty strong. And 2 of them are women, and also one of them is a lady of color. She's kind of tall, or tall compared to me, and really like her. She's got a nice disposition, and she's like a whirlwind. She will come through here so fast, and I'm talking about a spirit, as in spirit. She just comes and whoosh, I just feel her just come through this, because in life she was a lot of energy. She also would have been felt very responsible for her job and also the jobs of others. And she's a very sweet person, but yet she was like hammering out those orders in this kitchen and wanting it done. So yeah, a lot of energy in this kitchen. And also, I also feel there might be a well or something that was on the property. So some sort of water source that was under the property, in which or a water tank. If not under the property, somewhere there is a water source that would have been for, this goes back for whoever was housed here. And get really emotional too here, tapping into this older time period. Yeah. So I'm going to stop for a moment. And, oh wow. So here I am. This must be just a storage hallway that belongs to the restaurant. On the other side of this wall is the kitchen. So that'll give you an idea of where I'm at. Again, I feel like this has been redone over time, and this feels like this was some kind of even open air space at one time or another. So this has to be earlier than the restaurant when it became a restaurant in 1969. That this feels like, of course, maybe the ceiling was higher also, because this ceiling is it's been dropped. This is a more modern ceiling, but it almost feels like I'm outside back here. So it's either a very high ceiling or it's very open. And I almost, when I'm standing here, I feel drawn to what's on the other side of this wall more than I do this kitchen. So I'm just wondering what is on the other side. What's in the next building that awaits me? Because I'm feeling it as I'm standing here, and I'm feeling very drawn. Yes. In the restaurant part of Victor's, so we just left where there was storage along this wall, but now it becomes part of the restaurant. And it's a long hallway. Again, there is a much more lighter energy here. It's very, because I know it's still used as a restaurant today, but it's much happier, it's much lighter, but as I go forward to the windows, okay, which is obvious, this was a jewelry store and we did see the sign out front, and it becomes more jewelry store-like as I'm walking this way. And of course it was configured different, but I see more of a woman at the front of the jewelry store, and she has the little eyes, like she's looking down, like she's working at something tedious like jewelry. And I feel like very wealthy people would have frequented here. So this wasn't just like watch repair. This seemed like there was some pretty high dollar jewelry being worked on in this store, as well as being sold. And I want to say it was a lot of prominent people came here. Yes, and there's also another woman that's here, and so when you get to the front, about right here to the front windows, I see a woman with a lot of jewelry, but expensive jewelry, and but she's very tastefully done, and just she seems to have become widowed early, and that's the feeling I get with her, as though her husband would have died a lot younger than what she did. So someone who was widowed, and someone who would have maybe even taken residence upstairs, because I kind of feel like you live where you work. So I also feel that going on. And I'm not sure of the date right now, but I'll just try to, I just feel kind of out of breath too. Again, it's that feeling of sickness that I felt back there is kind of still with me, and it's kind of dominating this whole situation here. I'm going to stop for a moment and I'm going to regroup. Normally I don't do this as often, but there's a lot of energy in this place, and sometimes I just have to stop and regroup before I read some more. You get to go see listen to all the lectures. Right. Okay.
That's perfect, we hear you, loud and clear. Open the door, right?
Okay, so here we are in the Chamber of Commerce building on Main Street in New Iberia. And we're here, I guess this is like a lobby area to the front of the building. And the first thing I do is I'm smelling smoke, but not just any kind of smoke, I'm smelling like a pipe. And I feel like there's a lot of gentlemen that are gathered here. And this is an earlier time period, so I would say sort of maybe around the turn of the century or maybe the early 1900s that I feel this. And I feel like all these gentlemen know each other. This could be also, I keep getting like lots of bottles. So, and these bottles have, it's almost like when you have a store and it's not just selling one particular thing. It's selling an array of things. But in particular, I'm honing in on all these bottles. And I'm not sure if it's alcohol and whether, and I want to say that at some point, there was some shady dealings towards the back of this building. So they could have had men betting on different gambling going on, alcohol, drinking. But then I also, when I'm up here, I don't get none of that. So I almost want to say like this was a facade of what was going on from back there, which, you know, there was a lot of drinking and gambling going on, but this is a very man's world in this building of what's going on. But I have a feeling that it's going to change entirely. As we walk through, I feel like it's about to be something else entirely. I also feel there are men here that like talking about news, and in particular, I'm getting about a world war. So if we're talking about the turn of the century to the beginning of the 1900s, I'm assuming that they're talking about World War I. And I feel like there are men in uniform that are coming in. And we're going slightly, I think, into the 1900s now. And there's just this tension in the air here with this men going to war kind of feeling. And, you know, I guess that at New Iberia at that time might have been like everybody knew each other, so everybody's heart felt broken for all these young men that were going to war because everybody knew them. So feeling kind of choked up and kind of emotional about this going on. It also gets something to do with horses, and again, they might have betted for horses, or there's livestock, something to do with animals, and that may not have to do with gambling, but there's that kind of feeling with it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is somehow connected to the museum that's across the street, where I found out that they have sold animal pellets there to make into furs, and I kind of feel an association with that building. So might have been the same gentleman, I don't know, but I'm not going to try to think about it, but I could just say that there's a connection there. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Dunn Hall. Okay, so we're about to walk down this very long hall on the side of this building. And in my mind, I guess we were walking in another long hall on the other side of this wall, which is Victor's restaurant, which we were just which we just came from. And as I'm walking here, again, I feel like I am workman, and I'm going to, there's things that we're carrying from this whole place to the docks to load up on boats. And I also feel this railway association with this too. So it's not just using the boats as transportation, but it's also the railway. And it feels like there are lots of people coming this way, and mainly men. Again, here I feel this sense of this pending war that's about to happen, and just this apprehension of not knowing, that feeling of not knowing, that knot in my stomach here. And we're going to walk on a little further down this hallway, because I'm drawn down here, but more to this side of the building. Again, I see the figure of a man that's dressed all in black with a cross, so I'm thinking he's something to do with clergy. And lots of people that have things to do with the Catholic Church that are here. And also, there is some offices at this point that are here that also have something to do with the church, but I'm not really clear on that yet. So I'm hoping that as we go through the building, that I will get to feel more about, you know, what's happening with that. So I see that this is kind of used as a conference room. I mean, I kind of had that feeling about offices or people that are doing paperwork before I got here of what is used today. But I wouldn't be, it just feels like I see stretchers here. I see some people on these stretchers. And I see this woman, and she's got on a nurse's uniform. And again, I feel like this is a later date and time. So this could be, again, early 19th century, you know, or maybe 1800s to the early 1900s. Just by the way her uniform is, and she's got on a white apron and a white starched hat, and underneath it is a red pinstripe with kind of blousy sleeves, and there's a white cuff here that's starched with almost like looks like a cuff link on either one. And everyone is feeling ill here. Everyone is feeling sick and feeling very ill. And there are people, I get this feeling of, I just don't want to be here. I just don't want to be here. I don't want to be experiencing this. And some people who also would have not had any kind of medical experience and just diving in and doing whatever they know how to do. Yeah. I also hear another language being spoken here, maybe more than one different language. And also there's this talk about, I have this feeling as though like they went to war in the old country. You know, there was some kind of war going on and we're just doing it again. So now I'm not sure if they're talking about World War I or World War II. There's just this overlying feeling of war that's taken place that people talked about here. At the Chamber of Commerce building, and I'm to the back of the building, and this little narrow wooden stairway, and this is where we might have had some gambling going on back in the day, guys playing poker, you know, that kind of thing. But I have to say, I mean, there's so many different layers to these buildings. It's like a lot of downtown areas, a lot of main streets, where these buildings have been so many different things over time. I can't say all the hair on my body is standing up right now. There is a lot going on up here. So, give me a moment to tune in because there's just so much up here. So we have this, you know, we have the men who are gambling and that sort of thing up here, playing poker. And I want to say again, there is this sort of talk about war, but I'm also a woman too. I feel like I'm a woman and I'm going straight through this wall. So I feel like I'm the spirit of a woman now, and I'm dressed in black and I'm in mourning, and I feel like someone died, like my son, and a lot of grief up here. There's just a lot of grief. I don't know whether they had bodies that were up here, so meaning people who would have died and they would have put them somewhere, and or whether it was sick people. There's also this very religious woman that's up here, and I feel like she can speak another language because I hear another language going on, and I feel like she and the clergyman would also have spoken another language, as well as I hear this other language going on amongst other people that are here. But everybody's working, everybody's doing things, and so I wouldn't be surprised if someone would see a woman dressed in black going through here, and she's very dark. I mean, like her garments are black like mine, but she's got her head covered. And we've got a lot of overtones of the Catholic Church going on here. So they were giving people their last rites as they were dying. I feel like that could be so. And there's little child that's also up here, and he also speaks French, and so there might have been also something that was here people that were caregivers. That sort of thing, yeah. Because everyone just feels very anxious. Very anxious. There's undercurrents going on and people talking in whispers. And now it's very quiet. It's going very still. Okay.
Well, two things I heard. So I was listening to you talking, and I heard that you smelled pipes. And in my office, I'm the CEO of the chamber. In my office, I don't smoke, and of course, obviously, you can't smoke in here. And it's probably been years since anybody could smoke in this building. But I smell what smells like a heavy cigarette smoke, and not on an everyday basis, not all day long, but every now and then. And I was told that my predecessor in that office smelled that too. There is a bar next door, but you can't smoke in the bar, you have to smoke outside. And my office is deep into the building, so it's not something from outside. Then I heard you say something about you felt like this area was not part of the rest of the building, I guess I'm saying. Well, about a week ago, we have some issues on the front of the building. I was looking to see what the building used to look like, and I saw pictures when this was Franklin's department store, which was, and it may have been something between Franklin's and the chamber, I'm not sure. But the front of the building, like most of the buildings on Main Street, was looked like an open area where it was like you would walk into and the door was further back. It was not out on the front. So I thought that was interesting. But that's the only parts I heard you talk about.
Okay. Well,
So I'm concluding my reading here of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm feeling very dizzy and very lightheaded, kind of spinning. So I think that maybe I should go next door at Victor's and just sit down for a moment and recoup a little bit before I go on and read the dining area of Victor's. So I will go there.